In today's masterclass, we'll be going over 5 different nail art looks, all focusing on the art of layering. Starting off with a crystal marble look, going into a lace foil, so layering foils with gel. We'll also be doing a vertical ombre, a negative space French manicure, and an abstract ombre later on in the class. Let's kick off the masterclass with this multi-dimensional crystal nail art look. This look relies heavily on layering, and we're starting off with our Lunar Dust cat eye, magnetising the cat eye to create a shimmer before curing to set that in place. I'm then going to apply complete base to add a tacky layer for our Leo flakes to adhere to. I'm adding a nice thin layer of complete base and I'm leaving this completely uncured. And I'm using my ombre brush to place some of the delicate Leo flakes onto the nail. And I'm doing this sporadically. I don't want it to be all over the nail, I just want it to twinkle in certain areas and certain angles. Once you're happy with the placement, you can pop that into the lamp to cure for 60 seconds. I've added a layer of glass turquoise, and into that wet layer I'm adding little areas of the glass blue, and this just kind of gives the appearance of more dimension and depth in the nail. You can then cure that for 60 seconds, and then I'm then adding some white sands gel, which is a milky white, over areas of the nail, not all of it. So most of it is covered, but I'm just adding little areas with some milky white, and then going back in with a little bit of the turquoise. Once you're happy with the mixture of colours on the nail, you can pop that in the lamp to cure for 60 seconds and then go in to apply a matte top coat and cure that for 60 seconds. And this is just going to make our line work a little bit easier, which you'll see in just a moment. Remember, our matte top coat does cure with a tacky inhibition layer, so you'll need to use some isopropyl alcohol to remove this. I'm now going in with our blush cream detail paint, and I'm using the one stroke brush, which is an angled brush. I'm using this brush as opposed to a liner brush because it allows for a little bit more of a smudged out appearance rather than a crisp line. This is going to create the marble look, and I'm basically just doing an upside down Y, but I'm making the lines a little bit more wobbly rather than crisp. I'm also dipping into a really tiny amount of isopropyl alcohol just so I can define that line a little bit more. Once I'm happy with the shape of our first line, I'm going to get a tiny little bit more of the blush cream detail paint, and I'm adding almost a little bit of an ombre effect to that line, so smudging the line out basically to create a little bit more dimension. I only do this on one side of the line, so you'll notice for all of the line work I'm doing this on the right hand side. If I did it on the left hand side as well, you would lose all the line definition, so it's important to just stick to one side, whether it be the right or the left. Once you're happy with how that looks, you can flash cure it, and if you feel like you want to or need to, you can start to add a few more lines. I'm just adding a couple more lines going through that initial Y, and doing exactly the same thing. So doing my line, crispening it up a little bit if needed, and then brushing out to create the dimension. Once you finish your marble line work, you can cure that for 60 seconds. I'm then taking my glass turquoise and I'm adding turquoise in between the line work that we created because there's quite a lot of white on this nail now. I'm just wanting to add in a little bit more of that blue. At this point you could stop and top coat and finish the nail art look completely, but I'm going to actually repeat some of the beginning steps that we did in order to create a little bit more of that depth that a crystal would have. So just as we did before, I'm doing a little bit of cat eye, I'm adding my base coat and my flakes. I'm adding some more of my glass gel, I'm adding a little bit of my white sands milky white gel colour, and I'm just basically tweaking and playing around with the way that it looks until I'm happy with the depth. For the last nail art step, I'm taking my liner brush this time alongside my blush cream detail paint, and I'm just doing a couple of thinner lines. This time I'm doing my letter Y facing the right way. I'm making some areas of the line a little bit thicker, but to the most part the line is quite thin, and then using that same angled one stroke brush just to blur out the centre of that line and any other areas that I feel like it would look good. Now that we've finished the nail art, it's time to encapsulate everything and make it all look a lot smoother. Because there are so many layers, it can appear on the bumpier side. So I'm adding a little bit of clear tree build just to apply a structure on top of that. This kind of makes everything pop as well, which is really nice. It almost magnifies some of those glittery parts that we added earlier. So I'm just floating a nice thin layer of the tree build over the whole nail, and then I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds. I've given it a wipe and I've buffed the nail with a 240 grit buffer, and the final step is just applying our top coat and curing for 60 seconds. And this is our finished layered crystal nail art. You can see where the light and different angles pick up on those shimmers just like it would if it was a crystal. Next, I'll be showing you how to do this black lace look. We're using foil and gel for this look. Super straightforward. Starting off with a black glass gel. First things first, we're going to apply the black glass gel in a nice thin even coat and then pop that into the lamp to cure for 60 seconds. Next, we'll be doing the same with our Get Tacky gel, which is our foil glue. We'll be applying a thin even coat of this and curing for another 60 seconds. I've cut off a square of the black lace foil. You'll notice on one side it feels really smooth, and on the other side it has a slight texture, almost like your glove is gripping onto it a little bit. The slightly textured side is the side that will be pressing against the nail. It should be shiny side up. So we're placing that onto the nail, smoothing it down with our index finger, and I'm then going to use the Ombre tool, which has a silicone end, just to push that foil onto the nail as evenly as I can. This is going to almost help that foil to print onto the nail. You're going to want to ensure that you don't lift up the foil until all of the foil has been pressed from edge to edge, because otherwise you're taking off the foil and then having to try and lay it back down where the pattern lines up. So make sure the foil stays in contact and adhered to the Get Tacky until everything has been pressed down properly. I'm now adding a second coat of the glass black gel, again in a thin even coat, and curing that for 60 seconds. And then it's just a case of adding our super shine top coat and curing for a further 60 seconds. On the left hand side we have our final result, and on the right hand side we have the same method but over a builder gel. If you'd like to learn how to create the rest of the looks featured at the beginning of this video, click the link in the description to head over to our learning platform. There you can follow the remaining 3 tutorials from this masterclass and enroll in our other free masterclasses to continue developing your skills. We'll see you there.